Sometimes we want to do something repetitive in our code. So let's say I want to add the total of um, 5 numbers. I could make a total variable and I could get a number input from a user, and I could go down this terrible path of adding what they give me. And I could just keep repeating that, and I could write this like a bunch of times in my code here. I could do that 5 total times, and that would be hideous and ugly and not very like generalized. So what I want to do instead is I want to make a loop, which makes my segment of code run a bunch of times. Um, so here's what I'm going to do. I have made a total and I have asked for a number, and I'm going to write what's called a while loop, which is a type of conditional loop, and we call it that because I'm going to write a condition here. So I'm going to say, well, this thing isn't 0. Go ahead and add it to my total, and then let's ask them to enter it again. This variable already exists, so I don't need to declare it again, I just need to read it again. All right, and at the end of that, let's print out the total and see what it was. All right, let's run this and see what happens. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I'm done, I'm going to type 0 because that's my sentinel value, my value that's going to kill the loop. And it will tell you my total is 15. So this will work for 1 number entered, for 2 numbers, for 20 numbers, for 100 numbers, and I don't have to copy and paste my code a bunch of times. Okay. Some things to note about a while loop. The loop control variable, whatever I'm putting in my condition here, it has to exist outside the loop. So I have to declare it here. I can't declare it inside, because if I declare a variable between 2 curly brackets, it literally only exists. It's local to the area between those curly brackets. So if I declare it in here, I can't use it outside the curly brackets in my condition. Okay. Another thing to note, when I write a while loop, it checks the condition before it ever runs. So if in the first input they typed a 0, it'll never get into this section of the loop. That means its minimum number of iterations or repetitions is 0. Okay. There's a slight variation to this, which can save me having to ask this question twice, called a do while loop. So I'm going to just move some stuff around. I'm going to say this is do. I'm going to put my condition here and stick a semicolon on the end. And I'm going to do a little cheat. I don't want to have even this repetition here. I'm going to take this question off here. I'm going to take this input read off here, and I'm just going to start this guy at 0. So that the very first time this runs, it's going to add 0 to my total. That's not going to have any effect. And then it's going to ask them to enter a number. They're going to get it, and it's going to do the totaling. Okay, so let's just verify that that runs the same way. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. Yep, my total's still correct. So I saved myself asking the question twice by just doing some trickery with what number I initialized this to, where I added it, etc. So a do while loop and a while loop are really similar. Again, the variable that's controlling the loop must exist outside of it. You can't declare it inside, or else this condition can't access it because it's not in the same area of access. And another thing to note is that unlike a while loop, a do while loop, it doesn't have protection at the beginning. It'll always run at least once. It's exit controlled as opposed to entrance controlled like a while loop. I usually like to use conditional loops like while loops or do while loops when I don't really know how many times it's going to go. And it's going to be based on some kind of user input. So like if I have a menu system where they can keep choosing options off of menu and then eventually quit, this is a good kind of loop to use.